Adam walked throughout the day. It was growing chilly in the mountains. A wind blew along the trail, forcing Adam to pull his cloak tighter around his shoulders. But his eyes caught something landing on his shoulder. A foul-smelling white liquid. He recoiled at it. Pulling his cloak off, he tried to wipe it away on the ground. A shadow swooped above him, and his gaze followed it. Up on the rocky peaks around him, a flock of harpies took to the air. They circled above like vultures above a carcass. Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide, Jason. Today, our attention goes to the skies and the horrible harpy. Let's take a look at this classic avian monster. The harpy comes from Greek mythology. They are said to be a mixture of human, normally a woman, and a bird. In the writings of Hesiod, they are described as fair-haired. Their names are usually Elo, Ossipete, Podorgi, and Seleno, but others add Iris or C. Hydaspes. Iris is unlikely, due to that being the name of the goddess of the rainbow, and plays a part elsewhere in their story. All other writings do share one major trait. The harpies are ugly, with a capital U. So, no, sexy fantasy art isn't accurate. The Greek scholar Aeschylus even goes so far as to compare them to gorgons like Medusa. Hyginus claims that they have arms, more like a woman, with a human breast, stomach, and groin, but a bird head. Virgil disagrees and says that they have a bird-like body and a woman's head. Regardless, they have sharp talons which can rend flesh. Their name is said to mean snatcher, and one of the things they are known to do is to steal food from their victims and swoop down to carry off villains, only to give them up to the Aryanes, or more commonly called the Furies. The Harpies are described as excessively vicious and violent. Often they were used by Zeus. Thus, they earned the title Hounds of Zeus. They were also among those that guarded access to Tartaros, or the underworld. The most well-known tale of them is that of King Phineas. He was a well-known seer. His story varies with the tellings. Some say he angered Zeus by revealing the plan for humanity. Others claim it was Poseidon's punishment. Regardless of which, he was blinded and chased to the ends of the world, until he settled on an island and waited. Years of torment he suffered, and it is here that we can determine what kind of bird the harpy is. A bloody pigeon! Whenever Phineas went to eat, the harpies would swoop in and take a big old crap on everything. What they didn't soil, they'd steal for themselves. This would last for years, until Jason and the Argonauts arrived. Not me, Jason. Among the Argonauts were the winged Boreads. Their names are Zeti and Calais. Fun enough, they were Phineas' brother-in-laws. The latter one was nervous that it might invoke the wrath of the gods, but the seer convinced him otherwise. Now, when Phineas sat down to eat, the Harpies came, and the Boreads gave chase. If not for Iris intervening, in exchange for sparing the Harpies, Phineas would be spared. But of course, there is a different telling. Where one of the Harpies fell down and died from exhaustion. Interesting, would you not say? So let's start with their phylogeny. They are said to be a relative of the Gorgon, but isn't Medusa always depicted as a snake-like woman? Well, no. That appearance came from late Greek and early Roman era. In the earliest versions, the Gorgons were said to be ugly winged women, mostly. That explains the connection. Yet, there is another option I want to look at, the siren. not siren with an E, siren with 2 I's. This one comes from Russian and Slavic mythology. You may have faced them in the Witcher 3 game. These bird women monsters sing and lure sailors to their death, much like the siren merfolk variant. Most likely, the bird siren is a cross between the merfolk siren and the harpy. Genetically, the avian siren and the harpy are close relatives, most likely a near offshoot of something like the Strix. Now, can we get a woman to fly? In ancient Greece, the average woman was estimated to be about 110 to 120 pounds, 50 to 55 kilograms. Now, the heaviest flying bird is the great bustard. They can weigh up to 46 pounds or 21 kilograms. Their wingspan is 8 feet 10 inches or 2.7 meters. And it is less than half the weight of a grown woman. And there is a problem. The harpy eagle is amongst the strongest flying birds in the world, and it can carry up to 24 pounds at a weight of 20 pounds. That is 1.2 times its weight. Now, the average man in ancient Greece was suspected to weigh 180 pounds, 81 kilograms, or 1.5 times the average weight of a woman in ancient Greece. Okay, this is a bit past what they should be able to carry theoretically. There is some wiggle room that we will need to deal with due to changing the anatomy. But there is a workaround. There is more than one harpy. That means that they could grab a criminal in pairs. They are smart. They are able to think and plan. So cooperation should be possible. Now, how do we get them to fly? There might be some help in the fossil record. Petrodon longiceps is estimated to have a wingspan of 21 feet or 6.5 meters and was estimated to weigh about 110 pounds or 50 kilograms, or right about the right size for a harpy. So it is possible. Perfect. We will need to make a few modifications here. Let's use the human torso as the base. Birds have a thicker sternum called a keel, which provides muscle attachment for the wing muscles. So we'll need to thicken the chest up a bit. Another change for the bones is to be hollow. Birds and petrodons had hollow bones to reduce weight and permit flight. In addition, we will need the unilateral lung system of birds to promote the high oxygen exchange rate necessary to maintain flight. I am sure that I have harped on these on every video about a flying creature. Sorry. And I need to do one more topic, wing shape. What shape of wings should the harpies have? There are 5 basic wing shapes, and I've said it before. We can rule out the active soaring wings, since those are used by birds which fly over great distances, but one of them fell from the sky due to exhaustion, which means their flight may be more demanding. They are well mentioned flying between the islands of Greece. This means hovering wings and elliptical wings are probably out. That leaves 2 options: passive soaring wings like eagles, and high speed wings like ducks. Now ducks are long distance flyers, so I'm going to have to side with the passive soaring wings for the harpy. I do want to talk about their coloration. For most predatory birds, their underbelly is usually white, and their back and wings are a brown color. This is partial camouflage. White can look like a cloud from below, and brown the earth from above. Potentially, the harpy should have this as well. Lastly, we have the issue of breasts. Should harpies have them? Who is correct, Virgil or Hyginus? You could put them on the chest, but might get in the way with flight if they are larger. So a smaller cup size would be better. Yet they don't need it. Birds produce crop milk in their throat, which, as the name suggests, is a substance which they feed to their young, to provide nutrients early in life. So no, I'm going to side with Virgil's description being the most likely. So, how do we bring down the Harpies? Due to their avian traits, they have a couple of potential weaknesses right off the bat. Due to the unilateral lung design needed for the oxygen demand of flight, it leaves them weak to poison gas. Even the slightest amount can cause a problem for them. Second is due to their hollow bones. They are more susceptible to breaking bones. That means maces and blunt weapons can inflict plenty of damage. The feathers will offer some protection, but not enough. Yet, swords and spears will also be perfect. They aren't known for heavy armor. Yet, combat is going to be a problem. They fly. That means melee weapons will struggle to reach them. That means a bow and arrow will be more useful, if not a sling with rocks. One option is using a net to ensnare them. It will be difficult, but possible. Harpies can't attack at range, sort of. They will attempt to slash you using their claws. To protect yourself, gambeson will resist them perfectly well. Yet both chainmail and plate will also work just as perfectly. Magic would be perfect if you have it. Fire, lightning, and ice in particular. Lightning would be my preferred method, due to its speed and range. Though a solid spear of ice will rip through the Harpy quite well. I said that they don't have a ranged attack, but they can. Gravity. It is simple, and would take practice, but they could grab something heavy, like a rock, and drop it. Ideally, you will want a helmet on, but better to just avoid it. The Harpy will need to circle above you to aim. That will give you a clue. The higher that they attack, the longer it will take to fall, and the more power it will have. But also lower accuracy. Keep an eye on the sky. From the story of the Boreads, they used flight. This is complicated on how effective it would be. The air is their territory. They know it, and have plenty of experience in aerial mobility. As a human, your total flight time is nothing compared to theirs. But the Boreads had wings, and they could fly. They had experience in the air, so for them it was a fair fight. For you, it would be difficult, but not impossible. If you have a flight spell, practice with it. Set up an obstacle course and run it for a couple of weeks at least. If you rely on flight, you can use melee weapons, but you will need to manage wind currents. Be wary of crosswinds. Ideally, you will want to advance on the Harpy with the wind at your back, while they are fighting the wind. That should give you momentum on the attack, but more importantly, put the Harpy's talons as far from you as possible. They will need to flip about to counterattack. Anything you can do to disable its feet will remove much of its danger. Be afraid of them grabbing you and then dropping you. If they do attempt to grab you, the best option is to bind yourself to them, either freezing yourself, using sticky substances, or other such tricks to hold on to the Harpy. But as a last resort, a slow fall spell or a teleport spell will save you. Best to not get caught. The Harpy is a mobile foe, and that right there is the biggest issue. You will need to nullify that one way or another to stand a chance. You will need to be quick, keep an eye on the sky to win this fight. That is why I'm going with a 4 of 10 for difficulty. There is a problem with slaying the Harpies. The gods ask the Argonauts not to. So if you do it, you might find yourself being punished. Potentially, it means the Furies aren't being fed and may start hunting on their own. And who knows what the gods might do in retaliation of your actions. Best to not anger them. But if you do slay a Harpy, you could eat the meat, assuming you don't have morals. You could also use the feathers of fletching arrows. But most of the remains don't stand out. But could you work with them? Okay, you'll need to convince them to quit shitting on everything. But it is possible. They make excellent scouts and can provide air support in battle. They wouldn't be ideal for underground operations, but perfect for mountains and open battlefields. Definitely useful, but will take some work. The Harpies swooped down. Their shrieks were painful to hear. Adam took off, running as fast as he could. All while the Harpies gave chase. He was breathing heavy, but it was his plan. This was the perfect funnel. The flock of Harpies approached from behind, yet they hadn't recognized how clustered they were in the narrow canyon. Adam stopped in his tracks as he turned about. Flames erupted from his hands in a torrent which rose up the canyon. The Harpies shrieked in pain as their feathers burned. One by one, they toppled to the ground, defeated. The Harpy is a classic monster, one which many have seen and fell victim to their talons. Be careful, adventurer, and keep an eye on the sky when you are in their territory. Thank you for watching. Please return next time for the Huldra. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.